All right. Good evening. I know it's not usual to have one of these at 6 o'clock on a Friday night, but we're working hard to make sure that we keep our students, families, and staff well informed and communicate with them as often as possible. Throughout this difficult time, we'll continue to have these as much as possible. And we wanted to make sure we communicated soon after a conference call with the governor this afternoon. And as I've said each and every time, there's no doubt that first and foremost, safety and security of our students and staff is most important, and clearly our families, because this can impact families, parents, grandparents as much as anybody else. So just like the governor and the mayor and all those involved, we are making sure that we take safety and security as the most important thing that we do. We are taking the advice and the recommendation of the governor from this afternoon on a conference call, as you heard from his press conference a short while ago. We will be extending the closing of our schools in JCPS for at least 2 more weeks. And so the soonest that we could be back at this point would be April 20th. And when I say be back, mean actually in school physically in traditional instruction. So once again, that would be the earliest that we could be back. 2 weeks we extended after spring break. To be that first time we could possibly come back would be that Monday, April 20th. We will continue to monitor the situation. Clearly we know that there is potential that it will extend beyond that, and the governor made it clear to us based upon cases and how that goes in the next 4 to 5 weeks, whether we will extend beyond that. We are at least to April 20th, but we will continue to monitor the situation. Obviously, be in conference calls with the governor, Metro Health, the state health department, in the weeks to come to keep our families safe, but also communicated with. As we talked about last night at our board meeting, our Board of Education did approve our non-traditional instruction plan, our NTI plan. So now it has been approved by the Kentucky Department of Education and our Board of Education last night, and we are working diligently to implement that plan right now. And so essentially a district like JCPS and most large districts have never implemented an NTI plan before because of the amount of students and the lift that it requires. Secondly, we know that there's a lot of equity issues. We've talked about those equity issues. I've said those in press conferences before. Specifically, NTI instruction is really based upon a virtual type experience for kids where teachers interact with students on a regular basis, giving assignments, getting that back from them, giving feedback along the way, and communicating with families. And we know that a great deal of our kids do not have access to devices or necessarily to the Wi-Fi. So we're working hard to mitigate those problems, and I'll get to that in just a second. But in 5 days this week, since I last stood up here, my team has really worked to implement an online platform where we will provide resources and curriculum for teachers, but also a platform where teachers will create content to provide to students. Can do that in multiple ways, whether that be assignments, videos, actual interaction with students. All of this will be done through the Google Classroom platform that so many of our teachers work on, and we're at 97% of our teachers and staff have been trained on Google Classroom. We will have a web page that will provide resources to parents, to staff, and to students. We will be having hotlines here at Van Hoos along the way so that if there's technical problems, parents can call in. We'll be having training along the way. Our first day, April 6th, will be a professional development day for our staff. And that will be the day we will be asking staff to come in, go through some training protocols online. Won't be coming in. We'll be doing that virtually. But all the work we will be doing will be done virtually, but we'll have meetings with colleagues and staff, and we'll be creating that content. We will also ask our parents and families to use that day to make sure that they get connected and ready to go for our first NTI day, which will be launched on the 7th of April. And we will continue to do that every day in NTI until we are able to come back to school, or obviously the potential of end of year. But we are working very hard to provide the best possible experience for our students. I'll say this, nothing replaces face-to-face instruction with teachers. Nothing replaces students being in an actual classroom, but we want to get there as close as we possibly can to make sure we provide excellent instruction for our students virtually. And then we will also be working on a plan to provide hard copies for students who don't have access to those devices. I would like to highlight some of the services we continue to provide. Clearly, we're still providing meals for our students, and today we eclipsed 50,000 students were served this week, either breakfast or lunch. So we served 50,000 meals. Over 14,000 meals were served today alone in our schools, and I believe next week we'll be up to 69 sites that will be providing breakfast and lunch for our students. So I think that says a lot about the need of our students out there right now, that we serve 14,000 students, or we serve 14,000 meals to students today, and how important this service is. And I just want to once again pause. We have out there working right now, we have nutrition workers, we have people in central office, we have those that are delivering food that are working so hard right now to make sure that we provide those services to our students, and I can't thank them enough for that. Secondly, as I said before, we're working on devices. We know this is difficult and tough times, so we are looking to get 25,000 Chromebooks that we currently have in schools right now and get them in the hands of our students. And so that's a big challenge to us, is we're going to get those 25,000 Chromebooks. We know we're going to replace them with our schools on the back end of this. Once we get through this and move along, we'll replace those at our schools. But right now we want to make sure our students have hands on Chromebooks if they don't have those devices at home. So next week, by late next week, we'll be releasing a plan that over spring break, any free and reduced lunch student will have the opportunity to reserve a Chromebook, and we'll be releasing that. And all of next week, every day, we'll have multiple communication opportunities for families. But we want to get at least 25,000 Chromebooks out to our students. Obviously, we also know that connectivity and connection to Wi-Fi is a major challenge. Many times that's outside of our realm here in JCPS, but we are working with Metro government and others to find additional ways to provide Wi-Fi to our students and families. It does become a challenge because right now students can't go to libraries or other public places to access public Wi-Fi, but we are working hard to mitigate that and hopefully have some plans in the next week where we can provide some opportunities to our families. So we really want to make sure that we get 25,000 students with these Chromebooks and as many kids as possible with Wi-Fi. So you can imagine the work that's being done here this week, and most of it's being done from home. So we have all this going on, our employees telecommuting, but meeting together virtually and working to build this platform. So many people are giving so much of their time to make sure that we are ready to roll on April 6th with our faculty and April 7th with our students. And we will be successful with this. And looking at other major districts across the country, we are shooting much higher and think that we will have one of the best virtual platforms for students in this type of instruction of anywhere in the country. And we will work to do that. And once again, I want to say this is an opportunity for teachers to obviously use our resources, but they will also be building their own content along the way, communicating with their students, email, virtually, all of those ways. But we want to make sure that they have plenty of opportunities to instruct their students and work with them along the way. And finally, I want to say this. I know that this is a very difficult time for everybody, but specifically our seniors in the class of 2020. And I know that's for every senior across this state, whether public, private, or anywhere else. It's a difficult time because, as I said earlier this week, this is a time when seniors look forward to one of the favorite experiences of their educational career, K through 12. It's that time when our seniors step from really being a child into the adult life. And it's a very ceremonial time, whether that be prom, senior week experiences, or commencement itself. And I know how difficult it is for those students wondering what's going to happen in the weeks to come. And so my hope, clearly, is that we are able to come back and have all of those experiences. We want to do that for the class of 2020. But without a doubt, I can say this confidently, seniors, class of 2020 in JCPS, each and every school will have commencement exercises. There will be a graduation ceremony for every single school. Whenever it is safe to do that, we will make sure that each and every student has the opportunity to walk across that stage in cap and gown and receive their diploma from their principal. And so whatever that might be, whenever we get instructions that it's safe to gather after the conclusion of the school year and once students have met the criteria for graduation, we will make sure that every single JCPS school has commencement exercises at some point in the summer. And we are committed to doing that, and know, class of 2020 and seniors, that our heart is with you right now, and we share in the angst that you have over this, just like everyone else in the community, and we want to make sure to support you. Number one, make sure you graduate, so we're going to do everything we can to support our seniors, that they get to graduation through NTI work, but also that we are able to celebrate with you as you close out your high school career in JCPS. So a lot's going on, lots of work for us to do. We have significant work to do over the next really 14, 15 days before we launch this, but we will continue to work hard, make sure we provide great instruction for our students and great services once we go to NTI instruction, and also support them in our community to make sure we stay safe and healthy. So at this time, I'll take any questions that you have. Well, right now, that's still up in the air. I know that the bill passed, I believe 461, passed House and Senate. I'm still waiting to hear about governor's signature. So walking in here, I hadn't heard at that time yet whether that was the case or not. And so I hate to speak to that before that happens. I'm confident in the phone call that he will sign that and support that, which provides emergency days that we will be able to use for students and staff, NTI days. So right now, I know it's not an easy answer to say. We are still currently at that same spot that we had talked about before, because we will be using NTI days. Our board, we have not asked them to forgive those 4 days that we can yet, because we want to see how this all shakes out. But I think there will be major changes in the weeks to come, and we're really going to have to see how long we're out before we can make that official determination. But right now, once again, I would say it's at June 10th. If we have those 4 days forgiven, which we will at a future board date, it would be to June 4th. But I do want to say I think that's very fluid at this time, and I expect that to change.
So with the hard copies of materials that we sent to kids, that was optional at first. Are those now mandatory? You all have to figure out if this closure is going to be extended further, what to do at that point, or I guess where do things stand with that?
These become official instructional days. And so, yes, you know, this is just like school attendance. But we want to make sure our goal is not to harm our students in any way. We know this is a big challenge. We know there's a lot of anxiety about what's going on. So our goal here is not necessarily to harm or punish, but to make sure we support and provide instruction. But yes, these become just like an instructional day in school, but virtual instead. No, once we start on the 7th, April 7th.
At the last press conference, you asked partners in the community to kind of step up in terms of getting those Chromebooks and, trying to establish Wi-Fi. Since then, have people come forward, have organizations come forward?
We haven't had the business support necessarily, or the company support that we're talking about. We have had citizens that have come forward that are looking to provide funding to do that. So what I will say is our community is stepping up from more of a philanthropic way to look for funding. We haven't necessarily found the specific company that's willing to step up and provide that access, that internet access, that ease of access, and the employees that can get out and get it done quickly. So right now we're looking more towards hotspots and things like that. I can't say we're definitely going to be there, but that's where we're focusing on right now. So we're pushing on that one, but without a doubt, within our realm right now is to get those Chromebooks out, but then continue to push outside of JCPS for that support. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Kevin, I hope that's not the case. I mean, clearly, this is something that just changes every single day. I mean, it's, as you all know, you report on it, how many things change from the start of a day to the end of the day, and by the time we get to Monday, you know, it could be significantly different. Hopefully, I'm hoping that it takes a positive trend, but clearly all indicators are, and what we hear, that's not the case. So I think that's a distinct possibility without a doubt. You know, when we hear experts talk about 8, 10, 12 weeks, I think that's a possibility. I am hoping that we are able to come back, whether that be the end of April or the first of May, but we are planning for that possibility. Yeah, well, it's hard to know exactly what that number is for us of how many don't have that internet access. We have it on our comprehensive school survey, and we know a large number of our students have access to the internet, many through a smartphone. But it's hard to determine whether that smartphone has the capacity and capability to access some of the services that are needed. So we know a little over 60,000 of our students are on free and reduced lunch, but I think many of those have access to a device and Wi-Fi. So we can't say exactly what that number is, but we know that getting 25,000 out there is really going to help us out a lot. Sorry. Well, I know Spectrum is making some offers for students and families who need internet access in 2 months for free, but I can't speak to the exact nature of that and their capacity to do large numbers of getting that into homes. Yes, sir.
You said that when it comes down to it, nothing beats in-person learning. If the academic year does not continue in person, is there a level of concern for the next school year that certain students may not be where they need to be?
I mean, that's always our concern, first of all, but clearly, if we are out of school, and when I say that, I mean, I'm talking about relationships with teachers, knowing their students, being able to really provide instruction to where kids need it, and knowing that and assessing them all the time and making adjustments. I mean, that is the power, plus the services they provide at school. That's the power of in-school and in-class instruction. So there is no doubt that if it were to come to pass that we were not in school or even these 8 weeks off, that's a significant impact on student achievement. So it's going to be on us to take major steps to find ways to provide more kids summer instruction, more kids after school instruction next year as we begin to mitigate that loss. But we know there's summer slide. Research is clear on that. But when you add in the potential for March to end of May as well, that definitely becomes a concern and something that we're going to have to address. Right now, we are focused on getting this platform up and running, having great instruction for our students virtually and out of school with this NTI plan. And then as soon as we get through this, we're going to turn to ways to provide additional support for our kids, whether that be summer or after school next year or weekends. Well, yeah, I think I wouldn't, you know, I don't know if it's a silver lining or not. This is what I will say, and I challenged the team here that we need to be better once we get through this as a result of the work that we're doing. I want to say this, there's a lot of virtual platforms out there for instruction that can be very good, but once again, I can't say enough, nothing replaces face-to-face in-class instruction with a teacher. I believe that thoroughly. And there's nothing, no platform that can replace that. I think we will evaluate and assess afterwards the number of students who access this, those that couldn't, and make decisions in the future about how we would use NTI or whether we'll just use this platform as additional supplemental supports. That's where I could really see us using this platform as ways to supplement instruction for kids after school, summertime, weekends, and to assist families My goal would never be to replace face-to-face instruction, but I do think we can provide additional supports. Yep.
Given any guidance to the district at this point in terms of, if the delays are extended through the year, what special education plans might have to look like in terms of those students who are on those types of plans?
Yeah, I mean, everybody that's a huge challenge is special education services when we do this. So we will look to provide those specific services to our students that they need virtually as much as possible. And once again, it's tough to do that, but we will be providing these services virtually to our students. We will see a lot of the ARC meetings that will be done virtually in the weeks to come, which will be brand new for us. We will be making sure that teachers have IEPs implemented for additional supports for our students, but we have 13,000 special education students, and obviously that becomes a big challenge as well to do it virtually. But we haven't gotten specific guidance on that, but we know we still have to provide these services, and we're going to take on that challenge as well. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.